Hello everybody, Lisa here. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to the decks that I worked with this week. So in this weekly video I like to share with you the decks that I have been working with all week long, usually one tarot and one oracle, and my thoughts on those after working with them pretty solidly for a week. And then I also like to talk about what I'm going to be working with next week and sort of what I think that's going to be like, or you know, any first impression kind of stuff. So I hope you'll stick around. I'm going to jump right into it. So most of you know, if you watched my video last week, that I am super excited because this week I worked with my Monstarot. This was a super sweet gift from a subscriber and friend, Pixel Posey. She sent this to me. This is the guidebook. Sorry, I'm like holding this up like this should mean something, but this is the guidebook, which I actually love. It's actually really well done. You get just as much writing for the minors as you do for the majors. It's actually pretty meaty. It doesn't look like much beyond a little white book, but there's a lot in here. And the guidebook's actually written by Trish Sullivan. The deck itself, some of you may have already seen. Peggy made me a really beautiful embroidered bag with the bag logo on it, or with the deck logo on it. It took her a lot of time to convert this into a embroidery design. She had to do a little bit of tweaking and changing to get the general idea across, but she did it, and it looks amazing, and it makes me so happy. And this blue and white watery fabric is perfect for this deck, because look at the box. Like this there's so much about this deck that I adore. The box, I love the box, I love the beautiful bag. I know this isn't the deck, but like, I love the bag that Peggy made me for it. But mostly what I love is the deck itself. And after working with it a week, I am convinced that this is definitely like a soul deck for me. It's a deck that I'm going to keep available to myself all the time. And I think that if I ever need like a quick reading, this is probably going to be my go-to. You might also see behind me Mr. Conehead Bruno. His cone is really clear, so it might not show up very well on camera, but he's hanging out on his favorite little blanket on the corner of the bed, so he may wander over at some point. Anyway, these are the backs of the cards. This is the gorgeous crystal that lives with the deck. This is an... I almost dropped it. I drop something every video. Anyways, this is an Atlantisite stone, and it's supposed to be good for listening, and there's some other stuff, but listening is what caught my attention. And this lives with the deck now. I just think this is fabulous for this deck. It's such a good energetic fit, and it fits in the box, and it's just perfect. Let's talk about the cards, because they are incredible. Seven of Cups. In every... I literally get speechless every time I try to talk about this deck, and when you read the guidebook, it's even sweeter, because some of these little monsters have names. Not names, but like their types. Like, oh, I wish I could remember. Like, this is a flying jellyfish in the King of Cups up there with our green furry monster. I can't do it, you guys. I'm sorry. I try to be articulate, and it's not going to happen. This deck makes me so happy, and it's not just a happy deck. It's not that. It's that it literally transports me to a different place. And I've talked about that before. It literally takes me to this world where these monsters live. And you can see that they have their... I can't do it. I keep trying to be articulate and it's not happening. Every time I look at these images though, I get taken someplace. And you know, if you're a lover of books, like really good books, especially fiction books, I think that's what I'm kind of talking about, then you understand how special it is when you're really transported. And that's what this deck does. And as I said, I would love to read a book with these characters. Maybe that's something I'll do as a fun little fiction project, is write a deck, or write a book rather, inspired by these characters, because I see so much personality. I mean, Joanna Nelson, who is the artist of this deck, did such a stunning job taking us into this world that she created. I just can't love it anymore. It's not possible. Even the cards that normally I would be like, I don't love the way they depict. There's none of that in this card. I just totally cut myself off, which you guys should probably be used to by now because I do it all the time. But I mean, this deck just literally almost made me cry when I did my first impressions. It talks about inner reserves of strength and self-worth, which y'all know is my jam. Come on, like... And again, the guidebook is written so beautifully. Look at this Five of Pentacles and how she's leaning into this little rock friend. And the rock friend is like, it's okay. You can be sad. You can hang out with me. It's fine. I mean, there's so much more going on here, but I love the Queen of Wands with her, like, catacorn friend over there. And she's got so much sass. Look at her face. Do you see what I mean? Like, there's so much personality. Like, it's one thing to have, like, a deck with cute critters, but this deck brings so much personality. I don't know how else to express it. Anyways, I adore this. It is my whole heart in a deck. Working with it a week, I don't want to put it away, and I'm not going to. As you all know, it's going to live accessible to me. This one's going to be living, hanging out. Literally, the bag is probably going to hang on the corner of my working altar back there so that it's quick to hand. I could just... it's so good. Let's see if I can find some. I even love this little Seven of Swords, which is not always a card that's one of my favorites in general. But look, he's like, you could read this so many different ways. Like, that little, like, smug face could be like, aha, I just got away with something. Or it could, you know what I mean? Like, there's so many, there's no words. I don't know why I'm even trying to film this, because, like, every single card is magical and amazing. And there's our monster from the cover of the deck. The moon card is great. It's fabulous. The size, I barely can stretch my hands around it. It is a big deck, like, it's quite a stretch. So shuffling, it's a little tricky for me. I was like, it's just barely perfect, but if I cut the deck a little lopsided, then it gets hard to shuffle. But it's been really good to me this week. Yeah. You can see some pictures of some of the daily pulls and stuff that I did with it on my Instagram, which is just supportive tarot. But yeah, it's amazing, and I just want these images everywhere in my life. I want this on my wall. She does have prints. I might scoop some prints at some point, but we shall see. We shall see. I've been buying a lot of stuff lately, so I'm trying to cool it, because we have Mr. Diabetic Doggy who just got new eyeballs. Okay, he didn't get new eyeballs, but he had cataract surgery, and he can see again, which is amazing. Anyways, I'll talk about that more in another video, but anyway. So its little stone goes in here, the little guidebook, which I lost. Where did I put the guidebook? Come on, Lisa. Oh, there it is. If I don't lose something or drop something every video, it's just not one of my videos. All right. So that was the tarot deck I was working with this week. It's probably super biased opinions at this point because I love it so much. For those of you who have been falling in love with this right along with me via my Instagram posts or my videos or whatever, please know, and I don't think this is an official announcement yet, but I did see a post from Joanna Nelson, the author of this deck, or the artist behind this deck, who said that she has been getting a lot of requests for it and is planning to do a second edition in 2019 on Kickstarter, so keep an eye out for that. I will probably scoop the second edition as well. I mean, if it's identical, maybe not, but if there's any changes, even like the littlest bit, then I'll probably pick the second edition up as well. But I love this deck. It's just a classic. It's a great Rider-Waite clone, but there's so much personality and so much... I'm being so repetitive, so I'm going to stop. I'm going to just stop, Lisa. Set it aside. Put the Monstarot down. All right. The other deck I worked with this week, which actually made me a lot happier than I thought it was going to be. I thought I was going to be so focused on Monstarot that it didn't even matter what Oracle deck I had this week. But it did, actually. I worked with The Universe Has Your Back by Gabrielle Bernstien. This is an affirmation style deck, so it's not, I wouldn't call it like an Oracle, and yet the way that the cards paired up with random draws with my Monstarot made it feel a little bit oracle-y. So each card is beautifully designed and like illustrated with, looks like watercolor. These cards are so beautiful, and aesthetically they looked great next to the Monstarot, and the main goal for me with choosing this deck specifically beside the Monstarot was I didn't want anything to pull me out of the Monstarot world while I worked with it exclusively. I wanted to not get drawn out into a different world from a different deck, if that makes sense. So this worked beautifully for that purpose, and I got some great messages from this deck this week. This is I probably like this more than the Affirmators, which is my other affirmation style deck, and I love the Affirmators. But this just is so well-rounded and lovely. Sorry, I was just reading that one. I love that card. It's so pretty. And the artwork is really beautiful, too. I think I really enjoy the splashes of color and the watercolor, which is funny because it's this kind of stuff here where you can see the watercolor. Here's another one that's really good. Just kind of dripped onto the page. I love this. I love this. So yeah, this was really fun, and it kind of renewed my love for this deck. So it's always nice when I pull out a deck that I haven't had out in a while, and I think the last time I played with this for a full week was in like the spring. So it's always nice to pull back into a deck and like remind yourself that you love it. Because sometimes I pull back into a deck and I'm like, it's still kind of meh. And so it's always nice to have a good week, you know what I mean? So this one was great, and I'm excited to still have this. I'm excited to pull it again next time, so that's a really positive experience with this guy. The tarot cloth I worked with this week just seemed so perfect for the Monstarot that I couldn't, and you all have seen it before, but this is the colorful spirals cloth. So this is sort of the size that I think is has been her sort of standard size, and I think it's 20 by 20 or 18 by 18 inches. I'm really bad with centimeters, sorry folks, but she backed this one onto a purple velour for me, like a velvet. I call it velvet, but it's usually velour because it's a little more flexible, although she does have some actual velvets as well. But I love the gemmy purple on the back. I think I only used this side like in an Instagram post like once. I think most of the time I was using this side because it just looks so cute with the Monstarot, right? This makes me happy. It's really bright, so really enjoyed that. That was fun. And it's really, a lot of the cloth that I have from Peggy have really softened as I kind of beat them up and throw them in my purse and like, you know, toss them places, so that's kind of cool. So this week is kind of exciting. So as you know, my Monstarot is going to live out. It's still going to be available to me, but I'm going to switch up the deck for my daily draws and my regular spreads and stuff. I have the Brady Tarot. So I did not film a first impressions or a walkthrough or anything of this deck. I don't even know if I probably mentioned it on one of the Facebook groups that I had ordered this after the Kickstarter or whatever it was released. They had some available for pre-order. Sadly, I got mine, well, not sadly for me. Excitingly for me, I got mine very quickly, in fact, before even some of the backers, which I kind of struggle with that because I feel like backers should get, at the very minimum, they should get the first look. And I kind of feel like you shouldn't open up, as much as this benefited me personally, I would feel as a backer, I would have appreciated if other orders didn't open until all the international like backers and everything had received their decks. Or at least the majority of them, right? Like I feel like there was a lot of people still waiting for theirs when I got mine. And I'm in Canada, so I'm still international, but I wasn't as international as I guess people across the pond. So I almost felt a little guilty having this in hand so soon. But I'm super excited to work with it. So if you haven't seen it yet, this has a slide box. And a little teeny touch about this slide box, by the way, that I love, is that there's a teeny little magnet right here. So most slide boxes like this, you're scared to turn them on their side. But look, the lid doesn't slide out because of that little magnet. I think that's the cleverest thing ever. You've probably seen this before, but there are 4 suits, and those are represented by the carvings on the side of the box. So there's feathers, roots, arrows, and horns. And this is stunning. I'm not gonna, I just like gave myself a splinter out of the box though, so that's annoying. But this is really beautiful. And the deck will live in here when I'm not using it. However, I'm not gonna stick this whole thing in my purse to take this deck with me, so probably gonna have to put it in a bag. I haven't picked a Peggy bag for it yet. She's got a couple fabrics that might be good, so I might just have to borrow a bag or take one from her current stash or something. We'll see what she lets me get away with. This deck, the feel of this deck and this guidebook, just, they make me tactilely happy. So this is the guidebook. It has that like suede-ish kind of feel that a lot of matte books covers have been having that feel lately. And I love that. That makes me so happy. It feels so like premium, I guess. It's soft, it's cuddly. Like, I know you don't cuddle books, but it just, I wanted to rub it on my face. Did you see that? I totally didn't do it because I have makeup and that would be bad on this black cover. But I haven't spent any time with this deck. This came in, I'm in Canada. I didn't actually get it in Canada. I should have clarified that. I had to use my sister in Seattle's address to get this because she was not, Emily Brady, I think is her name, Emmy Brady, was not quite yet ready to ship to Canada. There was some issue, so it like teased me on the website. It's like, yeah, you can get it delivered to Canada, and then I tried to like continue and it wiped it out and would only give me US. And I'm like, well, my sister's in Seattle, So I put the Seattle address in. She brought it with her when she visited me, so we flipped through this deck together. One flip through, and that's it. So this is kind of first impressions this week for sure, but I'm excited. And usually with a deck like this, I try to read the guidebook all the way through before the end of the week, so I will try to do that. But you guys, the cards have that same gorgeous, like, suede soft feel. I don't have any other decks that feel like this. I didn't even know you could get cardstock that had the same kind of feel as this matte. I don't know what it's called. I guess, yeah, there's different kinds of matte, but anyway, I have shuffled this deck and played with it a little, and I've done a little more, I guess I didn't do just one flip through because I started to look at it a bit last night, but, I actually, what tipped me over the edge for this deck was the keywords, which, funnily enough, is the thing that a lot of people are disappointed by. I love the keywords. I think the keywords are fantastic. And here's the thing. With a deck like this, and we'll see how I feel about the keywords after working with it for a week, they might be disjointed in places. But what I find with decks like this is that if I let go of the meaning I think should be in the card and use the artwork and the keyword only, and not overthink, okay, well this is the, I think the one that I saw that caught my attention when I was flipping through last night was the Nine of Swords said conflict. Now I see the Nine of Swords as anxiety, as despair, as drama, but not necessarily conflict. That for me is more the 5. And I thought, okay, I could see how that could bother people. But what I realized is that the artwork and the keyword both speak to conflict. So if I read with this deck in that way and just kind of get out of my own way a little bit, it might be really, really beautiful. And I have to say, of all the animal decks that I have of tarot, this is the first animal tarot deck that I felt like, ooh, yes. And Naked Heart is also a really nice animal-based tarot deck, but it's very different. It's not the kind of artwork that just pulls me in the same way. Like it's stunning and it's vivid and it's poignant. Funnily enough, actually, the Naked Heart tarot, I feel like I can be a lot better with my embedded meanings, the meanings that I usually reach for when I pull a card. Whereas I think this one is going to be, to me, I think, a little bit more like Osho Zen, where I just sink into this deck and what this deck has to say without pulling so much on my, I love this Hermit so much. And obviously this is what's on the back of the guidebook as well. Yeah, I really like this. So we will see. This was definitely a deck that at first I noped on when I was first seeing the first few images come out. But I love the vividness of the color. It astounds me how this deck was created with, I think it's called lino printing, where something is carved and then it's printed and then it's painted, and it's like, whew, what a lot of work. And the detail in this deck is really incredible and beautiful. So yeah, but it feels so tactilely special. So that's kind of cool. And it's got this like matte gilding, which I do really like. It feels like it will hold up better than a shiny gilding. And this deck also just shuffles really, really nicely. It's a little stiff when I first start, but then as I get going, I get a really nice mix when I do my rifle shuffling. And it also hand over hands, I say just as I flip a card upside down. What do we have? The Empress, yes. Okay, so Brady Tarot, working with this week oh, I got all sunk into this and didn't even tell you what Oracle deck. Okay, so I need to get with the program because these videos, I try to keep them, these deck review ones, or these weekly deck ones, I try to keep them like 15-ish minutes, and I suck at it, you guys. I suck at quick videos. That's what we're learning. So my Oracle deck of the week, oh, gotta put the puppy back in its box, is my new Spirit of the Animals Oracle. I thought this would be fun to use next to the Brady Tarot. I don't know that aesthetically they go together, but I just realized animals, nature, more nature. It just sounded like a good idea, and plus I really wanted to get into this. So this is the guidebook. Oh, I didn't say, by the way, the Brady Tarot. Emmy Brady is the artist of the deck, but the guidebook is written by Rachel Pollack, which is actually really exciting, so I can't wait to dig into that. Can't stop rubbing my nose when I make videos. I'm sorry, y'all. It's just the way it is. Spirit of the Animals Oracle is by Jody Bergsma. Pretty meaty guidebook with full-size images, which is great. It's not in color, but that's fine. I get excited when there's color, but it's not in any way a deal breaker when there's no color. So that's exciting. And yeah, I'm excited to work with these. They are big, so I can't, and I've got big hands, I can't actually get my hands all the way around. Like I can, but not, I can only hold like half the deck that way. So I'm gonna have to shuffle this one hand over hand or side to, like I can side ruffle this deck, like so this way. And it does that just fine. And that includes a bridge, because I always bridge. I feel like bridging is like bad for your cards, but I'm a bridger. It's what I do. So this artwork is really pretty, and I love all of the like writing and keywords here. Now we'll see if I feel the same after I've worked with it for a bit. But I feel like there's a really nice sharp keyword right at the top. So owl here is magic. And then there's a whole bunch of other stuff, ways, messages you could read into the card for yourself that day. I think that this art style isn't going to be super disjointed next to the Brady Tarot, because it's got that more realistic look. And the Brady Tarot also has that earthy kind of, it's not fully realistic, but it's pretty realistic comparatively. Like, so for example, I love that there's a dog card in here, by the way. For example, oh sorry, this is my favorite, one of my favorite animals, the sea otter. I love river otters, but sea otters and river otters are among my faves. Anyway, if I were to have, for example, have the Colette Baron Reed Spirit Animal Oracle, I think that one wouldn't look quite as right next to Brady Tarot somehow, because it's got that softer dreamlike feel to it, and I feel like Brady is very down to earth from what I've seen so far, and this feels very down to earth as well. There's definitely spirit in this deck in the sense of how it's depicted, but yeah, it feels grounded to me, if that makes sense. But there are quite a few cards. How many cards are in this deck? 51. So I get really bummed out when I get an oracle and there's like 20 or 30 cards in it. I feel like that used to be the norm and not so much anymore, so I like to see 50 plus. Happier when it's 60 plus. But that's because greedy. And I want all the animals, please. I love that there's both a white tiger and a like Bengal style tiger here. Love that. Black bear. Somebody did a walk through this deck. I can't remember who it was. I was watching it and they said, oh, black bear's not a real bear. It made sense because there was, I'm expressing it badly, but it made sense at the time. And then I Googled it because I was like, I didn't know that. Because I think there's grizzlies and there's black bears, or there's, maybe this is a brown bear thing. I think it's grizzly and brown bear. That's what it was. It was grizzly and brown bear. And I remember I learned a whole bunch of stuff because they're kind of separate and they're kind of not. I think it's like all grizzlies are brown bears, but not all brown bears are grizzly bears. I thought that was really interesting. So brown bear is like a class that grizzly is, but there's also apparently some brown bears that aren't technically grizzlies. I don't know. It was an interesting bit of trivia about animals that I learned. I love the bugs in this deck, which is funny because I'm not normally a bug person at all, but I love the ladybugs in here and the dragonflies and the butterflies. Pretty sure there's no moths, but I could be wrong. Here's butterfly. Anyways, I'm showing you the whole deck because that's what I do, but it's really beautiful. These are the backings. I'm probably going to edge this deck this week, probably in some kind of color from this grouping up here. So probably like a really bright green and blue, like turquoise and purple maybe. I might do those three. So split this into 3 piles and do that. That might be kind of fun. So I'm definitely going to, I think I'm definitely going to edge this deck. We'll see how timing goes. But excited to work with this next to Brady. I don't have a bag for this one either. I think the problem is Peggy can't keep caught up with my purchasing habits. I think that's what's happening. Anyway. And finally, the reading cloth that I'm going to be working with next week that I snapped up the second she made it, which nobody is surprised. Let's be honest, nobody's surprised. Is this really adorable unicorn one. I don't know if I'm going to show the unicorns in the back in a lot of my posts because this definitely pulls me out of the Brady world a bit, but I had to use it this week because it's so beautiful and it's new, and the backing is probably what you'll see mostly. This is a really pretty dark purple with like this black, and then Peggy put this really beautiful finished edge on it that she did with her embroidery machine that I just love. It kind of hides on the front, which is how I like it, and then on the back you get this beautiful contrast all the way around, and it's so pretty. Anyways, I'm gushing as I do, but that will be fun to work with this week as well. So I was tempted to pull in an old one, and I was like, no, I need to use the new unicorn one. Plus there's a unicorn card in the Spirit of the Animals Oracle, so it's totally fine, right? Yeah, I hope I pull that card this week, and maybe ladybugs. So yeah. Anyways, it's almost at a half an hour, so I really gotta shut this video down, but I hope to talk to you all again very soon, and I will see you later. Bye!